you so much for joining us, and welcome. Thank you for being here today.
Thank you.
Oh, lovely. Well, Anna, would you like to begin? I know that when we spoke, you told me about your brief. You spoke about your personal journey, and I was wondering if you can share that with us, because I found that so interesting.
Absolutely. I mean, welcome everybody, and thank you so much for having me. Oops, just 1 second. Straight in, and my phone has just knocked off the Zoom. There we go. So thank you so much for having me, and it is an absolute pleasure to be here. And I've been so proud and so excited to be part of the CMA for a very long time, actually. And what a great space to be able to come and share my journey. So I've been in the business for 27 years, and I often think that I've been in it probably all my life, from when I was a little girl, where I used to massage my family and and do their feet and set up a little spa and crush petals and make potions. So ever since I was a little girl. But I actually went to drama school when I finished school. I went to drama school and decided when I finished in London, and went to sort of do all these auditions and stand in front of people, that it really wasn't what I wanted to do. So I went into theatre and education. And I did theatre and education, and I liked the educational forum, and I liked acting in that educational forum. I found that really, really interesting. And then I worked a lot with youth work, doing different educational modalities and subjects using drama. And then I went to work with older people doing reminiscence theatre. So always in education. And then I went traveling for a while. I went to Hong Kong, and I went to Asia, and all around, and had some massages and had some different practices from the Orient, and I absolutely loved it. Came back when Hong Kong was handed over, and it was like, right, okay, well, what am I going to do? And I decided I was going to go and do aromatherapy and massage, and so I started learning. And as I was learning, I was like, I know this already. It's kind of, it's it. I love this. And it was an amazing journey for me. So I learned a lot of complementary therapy. So starting back then, I won't give you my resume because it goes on for quite a long time, but I have trained in many modalities of complementary therapy. I trained all the basics, and then I trained with Lastone. I did reflexology, aromatherapy, and then just Thai and Lomi Lomi and Hawaiian and Thai, all these wonderful modalities. And then I worked the business. I did many massages for hours and hours and hours for a long time, working on retreats and traveling the world, and working with lots of different bands, going on tour and film crews, and it was amazing. And then having had children, I met somebody who was a teacher, and I was showing her a few bits and pieces, and she said, oh, you should teach. And I was like, oh, okay. Anyway, I didn't really think anything of it. I came from London down to Bournemouth, which is where I'm based now, in the South Coast. And I was doing so. I'm also an acupuncturist. Yes, along my journey, I trained as an acupuncturist at the University of Westminster. I also work with dogs, doing acupressure and herbs and zoopharmacognosy, which is a really interesting program. And I'm also a Kundalini yoga teacher and Gong practitioner. So the learning never stops. I'm also a facialist. I'm a very accomplished facialist, and I'm learning Kabido and intraoral work as well. Anyway, that's my background. And I think that when you hear about teaching, it's about knowing your stuff. And that's really where, if I was to give any advice, it's really know your subject, know your stuff. And my life is my work, and my complementary therapy, and everything that I do is all that I do. And anyway, so I was doing some acupuncture down here, and a lady said, how's your anatomy? And I was like, my anatomy is really good. And would you like to come and work at Brockenhurst College and teach anatomy for ITech? And I was like, sure, no problem. So I went along, And they were like, oh, great. And it was almost like being on stage. I put my drama school vibes together, and I was teaching. I think I over taught a little bit just because I was so like keen. And they said, oh, great. Can you teach massage? Yes. Can you teach hot stone? Yes. Can you teach Indian head? Of course. So I was teaching iTech at a FE college in the New Forest, and I actually have just this academic year resigned because my private academy is doing so well. So I've been teaching for 16 years now, and still do some practice and still learning all the time. And what happened was, as well as doing my Brockenhurst, I started teaching for some smaller academies. And these smaller academies, one of them was affiliated with the CMA. And actually, that was my first exposure. And so I got really involved. And then a lot of students were coming along going, you should do your own school, Anna. And so I was like, oh my God, okay. And so I found out how to do this and started to create my own school. And I was already called fine tuning, and I've been fine tuning for many years. And then it was like, right, well, this is the School of Fine Tuning. And I love the name because it really embodies so many aspects of my practice, where we're bringing the body into balance and harmony, homeostasis, having good energetic flow, and always fine tuning. So that's the story. What happened when I was creating my own school was that I had to go through the process of creating my manuals and getting my approval from CMA. I knew I wanted to be with CMA because they're huge. They're, recognized all over the world. I'd been to a couple of events in London at exhibitions and seen the CMA. I knew that I wanted to be with the CMA. And it was just a case of putting it all together. So I've got a little bit of a list, if you like, of how I formulated and created my school, and how it's actually organically grown into other areas, which is really exciting. So first of all, the teaching qualification. So when I went to Brockenhurst College, as part of learning at teaching at Brockenhurst College, they said you have to do a Cert Ed, which is a degree in further educational teaching. So I went through, it's a University of Greenwich Cert Ed, which is a degree in teaching for further education. So it was really exciting, a little bit sort of, okay, we've got to, evaluation, differentiation. Some of the subjects are not the most, what's the word, holistic and complementary therapy, but it was a means to getting my teaching degree. So what I decided recently is that I would also create a teacher training program so that I could teach teachers. And now it's called the AET. It used to be, well, it first of all was called a 7307, and then it was called Petals, Detals, and then Kettles with a CTT. These are sort of teacher training programs, and then the Cert Ed. The foundation level of teaching, so that if you wanted to teach your own courses, say for example, you have something that you wanted to teach, you can acquire and learn and get this CMA accredited AET, which is an award in educational training, which I offer. I teach it in person and remotely. And this would give you a foundation level to be able to teach CPD and adult education on a foundation level. If you wanted to go into colleges, you would then have to progress and do further training. The AET would set you up if you wanted to teach your own courses. This is a great foundation and entry level. So at the School of Fine Tuning, I have that program if you were interested in me teaching you teaching. A lot of these programs, actually, you can do them online, but I choose to teach it in person because I really like to give you a lot of the hands-on experience of teaching rather than just doing, a booklet of theory. I like to give you, well, actually, this is what actually happens when you're teaching. So if you're interested in that, then please do get in touch, and I'd be happy to talk to you about that. And then there's the creating your manuals. So the manuals are really fantastic support learning, so that when you're doing these short courses and these short CPD courses, there's a lot of information that I need to deliver in one day. So I put together a really comprehensive manual that goes out 2 weeks before training. And that gives therapists and learners the opportunity to absorb the information, have a read through it. And then on the day, it's not the first time that they've heard of the theory. And we sort of recap and go over it, and I weave it through the practical training of the day. Now, when I'm creating a manual, first of all, when I first created the manual, I got in touch with the CMA, and the lovely Roberta was there, and she helped me so much through the process that I was given a criteria that had to be followed. And the criteria was such that it had to have an overview, an introduction, the benefits, the tools, or the modality, and then the techniques, then contraindications and benefits, and then I also put together just a few additional modules that I thought was beneficial about just how in your how to be a good therapist, and codes of conduct, and best practice. I think that's really important. And then there's a consultation form. There are aftercare advice, and the anatomy and physiology. So a lot of them have an overview of the anatomy and physiology, but some courses require, so if I'm doing facial rejuvenation, it's very specific to facial anatomy. And if it's something to do with massage, then it's all over anatomy. It's a full body anatomy and physiology review. And so obviously we're not delivering, because all therapists are coming with a level 3 anatomy and physiology, but it's a review and overview. Now, sometimes I have therapists here who have been therapists for years and their A&P is rusty. So I also offer mentoring program where, and you might like to consider this if you want to have yourself in the educational field, is offering refreshers and mentoring programs as well as your CPDs. So what else? A&P, and then the routine. And I have a whole section here with some meridians and acupoint, like key acupoints and killer acupoints, that in most of my modalities that I teach, there's always that interest of working with meridian lines, acupoints, and a bit of TCM. My whole school and philosophy is backed and steeped in Oriental medicine, not only Chinese medicine, but Japanese practices, and many different Oriental medical, but my training is traditional Chinese medicine. And then also I have a huge passion for quantum physics and quantum energetics. So I talk a lot about that, so that when I'm teaching aromatherapy, we go into the vibrational qualities and the resonance of oils, as well as the chemical constituents. And we talk about that a lot through my teachings, and that's my expertise. Now, if your expertise was in herbal medicine, or in physiotherapy, for example, or backflower remedies, it might be that you thread that through your teachings as well. And that just gives a bit of extra added value, as well as the core subject. I love to weave in different modalities and interests. My school here is a small school. I keep it small because then I consider it to be like private education, or small private focused intensive training. That way I know that I'm serving each therapist that comes to have education with me the best that I can, and the most bespoke that I can. So I really tune into what practice and where you are, so that I can focus in and feed through any more additional information. So there's also at the back here a little bit of business in my manuals. I talk a bit of business, like insurance companies, memberships, there's connections to CMA and Westminster, and other courses available that might be relevant. So they're my manuals. Ooh, hello. And so, yeah. So just let me tell you how I do the manual. I dictate it. I would say, the very first manual I wrote took me days and days and days. It took a long time. And then I kind of had a core template that I could, move and groove with the different subjects, because some of it was really relevant, some of it was template. And so I had my core that I could work with. And then I would just start to talk and dictate literally into my laptop, which picks up my voice. And I would just chat about it and just create this whole content. And then I'd go back and edit it and tweak it how I wanted it to actually sound and come across. And I would source images, some that I've taken myself, some that I've hired an illustrator, and some that you can you can get like free download images from numerous free photographic websites. So yeah, I put it all together and designed it and created it and play around, and it's all done on Word. Nothing too fancy. I'm not a great techie lady. I do massage. But I was able to formulate it so I like it. And over the years, I've created and tweaked even more, and I go back and make it better. And so I formulate this lovely Word document that I create into a PDF. And when I'm happy with it, I submit it to the CMA for approval. So I would say that the very first one took ages. It did take a long time. I think it took about like a few months, actually. It took about a few months. And now, if I want to put a manual together, I would say it takes 3 to 5 days to create a manual based around my template that took me ages. I could do a workshop even at some point, perhaps, about creating a manual. I'd be happy to do that, because it took so long because I didn't know, I was just sort of creating it. Anyway, after that, I submit it to the CMA, and then you wait for your email, and happily the turnaround is pretty quick. But I'm waiting, and then I get this gorgeous email that says, "We're delighted to welcome you. We love your manual. It's so good." And I was made up. And I just felt like my whole world had opened up, actually. And then I started to write more and more, submit more. They would always come back with fabulous, and I was just made up about it. And so my school was launched. I launched my schools. I made sure my insurance company knew that I was a school. I work in partnership and affiliate with Westminster, who highly recommend and work with the CMA as well. So I spoke to Westminster. They insured me as a school. I made sure that my school was up together with all the equipment that I need, and what I was going to do. And then it's really about marketing and social media and YouTube and getting yourself out there. So I just got going with that and started sharing that I'm going to be teaching gua sha. Was my first one. I learned gua sha so many years ago, actually, and I was teaching gua sha just as a workshop. Not with a manual, just as literally as a workshop. What elevated my business and what elevated my school was once I had the CMA approval, and that I was able to issue certificates, and it was a recognized CPD, certificated and insurable. That's what elevated my business, because beforehand I was just doing like workshops to therapists, like, let me show you these techniques, with no certificate, with nothing. It's just like, let me just show you. And so that's really how it elevated to a school. And my social media has become a bit of a hobby. When it first started, I was just sort of, taking pictures and put it out there. It's now actually become a hobby of mine, my social media and my YouTube. It's like, photographic. I'm very creative with my photography and very, very creative with my content. And it's very much within my branding. I make sure that my branding, I went to a lot of talks and lectures and workshops and courses on social media and branding to teach myself. And it's as good as I can do, but I'm really happy with it because it works. And then I started just doing videos on YouTube based around my students, the therapists that would come, that would go, can we make a little video about that? Or can I make a video about that? Is it okay if I record it? And then I suddenly became like this film star that was able to sort of make videos. It's not done on the best equipment. It's done on my iPhone. But my 16-year-old son says your iPhone is the best piece of kit that you could possibly want to film on. And he got me set up with all the right microphones and the tripods and everything. He said, you can set up different cameras in your room with your iPad. And I'm like, oh, lights, camera and action, and let's go. And I think my drama school training, I must say, has helped me. That I don't feel shy sharing and talking, and I don't sort of do any editing. If I make a mistake, I just go, oops, that was a bit of a mistake, or I don't really make that many mistakes because I just love what I do, and it just is what it is. And I just talk and share, and I share because I love what I do, and I'm passionate about these modalities. And when I teach, say, hot stones, for example, I'm so in love with the stones and the basalt and the marble. I'm just so in love with all the stuff that it's like, let me show you this and let me show you that. As well as that, having done the degree in teaching, I take it very seriously to make sure that everybody that comes into my school totally gets it. And totally gets it as in the subject you've come to learn, totally gets it for yourself. And I think that's the art of teaching, is to make sure that your learner really gets it for themselves. And I say that as a sort of phrase because I could show you and teach you and be very passionate and I could really deliver everything. And you could just go like, oh my God, I'm never going to be able to do that. I'm never going to be able to do it like she does it. And that can be quite overwhelming and it can be quite intimidating, especially when I teach anatomy and physiology. And I'm delivering 12 modules of anatomy and physiology. It can be extremely overwhelming and extremely intimidating, me standing there talking about the endocrine system like it's just, some chat. And other people are receiving it like, oh my God, I'm never going to know that. So my job, or the teaching, the aims and objectives of my teaching or your teaching would be to ensure that you're assessing in a way where your students or your therapists are getting it for themselves, so that they're almost able to go away and talk about it and deliver it like they know it as good as I knew it when I was delivering it. I hope you understand what I'm saying there, so that I want people to go away and thrive in their business with confidence, so that they know it and they can be passionate in the same way. I hope that makes sense. What else have I got here? The art of teaching. Yeah. I think this, assessing is key, and assessment isn't sort of standing there with a clipboard doing a checklist. I know even when I was teaching iTech, I tried to really relax it and say to my students, you're going to be in front of these assessors. This is, we're going to have it like a conversation. You're not going to have it like, so it's almost like desensitizing a little bit the examination culture, and just going, just do your thing because you love it, and do your thing and share and show, and don't be shy, don't be sort of limited when it comes to moving your body, when I'm showing therapists moving your body, I'm like, come on, let's do this together. And I'm really sort of relaxing, teaching people so they feel relaxed, and teaching people so that they get inspired. And it's a part of the assessment process is making sure that there's inspiration being delivered, and there's receiving it for yourself is the outcome for me. There are often situations where somebody's struggling, and that's when we do the AET or the teacher training, that's part of the conversation, is what if people don't get it, or what if there's, lots of what ifs. And you'll have people in your classroom with many different abilities and many different walks of life, and many different, so some people come into my classroom and they've been practitioners for 15 years as well, and I'm like, let me show you some stuff. It's amazing. And I love it. I love the learning process, because I always learn as well. And I'm never going like, I know this and I'm going to teach you, and do you know who I am? I'm teaching from a space of equality and partnership and co-creating. And it's just because I've been doing this for 27 years that I'm able to share with you in a way that it looks like, I've been doing it for years, and that's because I've been doing it for years. So, if I was to step into a hairdressing salon and they were telling me or showing me how to, do a head of highlights, I would start from scratch, be going like, I have no idea what you're doing here, and I'd be starting from scratch. So, I invite people into my space with that knowledge that people are starting from scratch, and to take them through that process so that you go from starting from scratch into being able to do it for yourself with total passion and confidence. And I love that. I love it. So there's so much to teaching. There's so much about teaching, and that's on the teacher training program if ever you were interested in learning with me in that way. And then I'd say feedback and evaluation is a really important part of my school and my teaching, is receiving feedback, good, and I'm really blessed to say that I don't get much bad feedback, but I kind of push for feedback. And if I don't get any feedback, then I self-evaluate, and I do reflective practice, and I evaluate myself, like, how was that, do you think that they got it? And I just have a chat and conversation with myself about evaluating, like, that worked or that didn't work. And often I just, if I'm elevated and I feel my energy is elevated, I know that it really went well. If I'm just like, oh, I don't know about that. And then that was the early stages of feedback and evaluation, and just really hearing, assessing, looking, listening, just, watching and getting my feet firmly on the ground to a position where now I know that I deliver fantastic courses, and it all comes with love, integrity, passion from my heart. And I'm assessing all the time to make sure people are getting it, students are getting it. I might ask questions. I don't put people on the spot, but I ask questions like, what would you think? What do you think? Is your tank warm enough? What do you think of the temperature? Or that gua sha, I've showed something. Do you think that we could go a little firmer, maybe? Like, what if you went a bit firmer? Try that. And so I'm assessing and feeding all the time so that I can make sure that the learners understanding and getting it, so that they'll be able to leave confidently and happily. And yeah, I'm always learning myself. I'm always on courses as well. I love learning, so that I know what it's like to be a learner and in other people's schools and in other people's hands. I love that. And I'm very humbled by everybody's knowledge and teachings. It's just so wonderful. So I think that I've covered everything that I wanted to talk about. And obviously, there's a lot more to it than that, but I wanted to give you an overview. One of the organic developments that came out of the School of Fine Tuning was my fine tuning treatments. And it just came really organically, in that in the New Forest, there's a fantastic retreat centre that's just opened. And I was going up there actually to have a look as a larger training space, or a space where I could hire to do my Kundalini or Gong workshops. And I went to chat to her and the manager there, and they showed me around and they said, oh, we've got some treatment rooms. It's just opened. We've got some treatment rooms in the loft. Would you like to come and have a look? Of course I would. So I went up to have a look, and it's this beautiful loft space that's just been refurbished and recarpeted, and it's got 4 treatments and a training room. And I'm like, oh my God, that is absolutely beautiful and fantastic. And so I had a long conversation and a lot of meetings with them. And what's good now is it's a bigger space, and if I want to hire a space with more therapists and more learning and open up and expand my school, I take my teachings up there. So I do that regularly. Some of the classes are 4 to 6 people. So in this training room here where you can see me, I can have 2 people. And then over at the retreat, I can have 4 to 6 people. And then I have a bank of therapists who are therapists who have come through my school, and they join my team and bank of therapists, and we provide the treatments to the guests that come to the retreat, either as a day visit or on retreat as residential. And we're doing so well. It's wonderful, actually, as a great progression, so that when therapists come here, some of them are just starting out and they're like, how do I get started in this business? So I do a mentoring program as well. So I do a mentoring program for therapists as refreshers and for business development and confidence boosting, and just, you know, so many things. I love the mentoring program. So some of my therapists who've done aromatherapy, they come back and they want to learn more aromatherapy and see what I think of their blends and to look at their business. They invite me to look at their business and give feedback and give suggestions. And creating a signature treatments for spas. That's another service that I do. So that they go, well, we do this and we do that, but we'd like to have a signature treatment. So I go in and consult with the team and maybe sort of up level some of their training and say, how about we do this? And we create these lovely 90-minute signature treatments. And very grateful to have worked in some of the top spas in the New Forest, and continue to have partnerships with Limewood and the Pig, and some fabulous spas in Dorset area. And then so many things. I've started as well doing a lot of corporate days and corporate wellness days, and then I'm teaching workshops as part of wellness days, and it's just wonderful. So the limit is still growing. What I'm going to do is I'm going to pause there, I think, Jayney, and maybe invite any questions, because it might be that in 20 minutes there might be some questions, or I can just keep talking about stuff.
No, I think you've done brilliantly, actually. That's an absolute gallop through everything you do. And I know we've really only just scratched the surface, but I do want to make sure everybody has your contact details. So yeah. We've got the schooloffinetuning.com. So I'm just going to copy that, if you bear with me.
Yep.
And copy that and pop that in the text in the chat box. Let me just send this to everybody. That's it. There we go. So that's the schooloffine-tuning.com, which is the school, isn't it? And then, as I understand it, and the treatments are fine-tuning treatments, and I believe that's where
FineTuneTreatments.com.
Yes, there we go. So let me just pop that in the chat box as well for everybody.
And at the school and Fine Tuning, there's a contact page. If you wanted to come directly to my email inbox, you can just click on the contact, or you can give my email directly now if you want.
Absolutely. In fact, let me just see if I've copied. No. I tell you what, can you just just read it out to me, because that's one thing.
So it's Anna.
So second. I mean, I should know this off by hand, but of course I'm on autocomplete.
Not at all. Anna at the schooloffine-tuning.com. Yeah, Anna at the schooloffine-tuning.com is my inbox, my personal.
Okay, Anna at the schooloffine-tuning.com.
Yeah, a mouthful.
There we go. Lovely. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Anna, I think that's really, really helpful. I know that we've got a lot of people saying that they would definitely be interested in a manual workshop. I think it's really vital, actually, because I mean, I do very clearly remember when you first joined and you sent your manuals through, and it was like a breath of fresh air coming through, because a lot of the time we do have to go back to people. I think nobody on the call today is anybody that thank goodness that I've ever had to go back to. But what I was going to say was that when we do have to go back to people, it'll be to say something like, well, and we're very gentle about it, but would you say, have you thought of adding in this? Have you thought of adding in this? Because of course, we've been looking at courses for nearly 3 decades. I mean, in February, the CMA is going to be 29 years old, which I know, it blows my mind. I mean, that's just ridiculous. But so we're very proud of that, and very, the longevity is just extraordinary. So, we have seen an awful lot, and I have to, vouch, of course, for your courses and say, they are exceptionally high quality. And I love the fact that you offer tune-ups essentially to body workers, particularly, who, probably actually think, I've been doing this in this way for some time. And it's just as important, whether you're a homeopath or an acupuncturist or what have you, that you can go back to the source. You can go back to somebody that you really respect and just say, look, this is the way I'm working. Should I be changing this in any way? Is there anything that's new on the block that I should know about, or anything like that? So I think that's really great. And I love your commitment to anatomy, physiology, and pathology, because that is crucial in our sector, as I know that obviously the people on the call today are, really, I know you are really, really good. So it's a fantastically, really a very eminent group that we've got today. And so I know we're all singing from the same hymn sheet, and we all understand how important this stuff is. So no, absolutely delighted. Does anybody have any questions at all for Anna? I know she's explained everything incredibly well. Hara, unmute yourself, please, because I see that you have your hand up there.
Hi, Anna, really interesting talk, really enjoyed it. I'm actually a sound healer and shamanic practitioner, and I've been teaching for 13 years, and I've got my handouts which I want to put into a manual. I've got all it's all ready to go. I just need to, I think, maybe do the award in educational teaching, because I would like to be able to certify my course and offer it as CPD. So
absolutely. So the AET is really good because it gives you a bit of a foundation of how to teach. And when we go through it, like I said, you go away and you're ready to teach. You have to do a little micro teaching as part of the assessment to me. And I just, give you all the lovely feedback to make sure that you feel confident being in front of people. That's the most important thing for me, is that you feel confident being in front of people.
So what sort of length is it, the course?
So yes, thank you. It's 2 days. It's 2 days. It's 2 days with me, and then you have to go away and do a lot of written work. There's a couple of fantastic books that come with it, and a very comprehensive manual. And over the 2 days, I talk you through it all, so that again you get it and you understand what what you're doing, but then you have to go away and write. There are quite a lot of, not long essays. They're not long essays. They're more like paragraphs, if you like, but decent sized paragraphs to show that you've understood differentiation and assessment process and evaluation and diversity. It's probably, as well as the anatomy and physiology, it's probably one of the most theoretical courses that I deliver. But we make it fun and we make it chatty, and it's really interesting because I really put it into context. And like I said earlier, is like so many people do the AET and it's just online. It's got no contact. And I was like, no, I have to deliver this because I want people to teach well, rather than just do the theory and then you sort of almost, you're not feeling it, you don't get the essence of it, and you don't get the vibe of it, the vibration of it, and the sound current of it. All these teachings are a sound current. And teaching is a sound current. That's really amazing that that's just come up, actually, because for me, teaching is a vibration and it is a sound current, because you can listen to some teachers and they just like do your head in. Don't know if you've ever had any of those. And then you have teachers that you could just listen to all day long. And that is the vibration and the sound current. And I like to teach that as teaching as a vibration and teaching as an essence. I love that. And then with your content, we can look at your content and I can say, you need to put more in about Hertz frequency. You need to put more in about the auric field and how it affects the auric field. But you might have all of that. It might all be there. But I'd be happy to look at your content and comment on it.
So I teach for the College of Sound Healing. I'm a tutor for them.
Do you?
So they have their own course, which I teach. But this course I teach is for personal and spiritual development.
Yes.
So it's not teaching them to do sound healing on anyone else. It's so it's therapeutic.
Yes.
So I'm not training people. I'm teaching them something for themselves, which is quite different. So would that still be appropriate for your course?
100%, absolutely. With the AET, you can teach anything. Okay. You can teach cookery. If with an AET, you can teach cookery, you could teach knitting, and you can teach sound therapy. So if you were enabling people to buy tuning forks for themselves, and the reason why you have an AET is so that you can award CPD certification. If you don't need to award CPD certification, if that's what I'm saying, if you just do it as a workshop. So years ago, I just used to do them as workshops, and it was just like, it's almost like doing a yoga class or something. Classes that you deliver your subject and people get it and they go away and lovely. To do CPD allows people to integrate it into their own practices, for it to be insurable, and for them to integrate it and say that they do it as part of their practice. So the AET will give you that platform to be able to provide that for your learners.
Can I come in there regarding, I think it's so important to just to mention CPD from our perspective here at the CMA.
Yeah.
What I can tell you from our side of the desk, if you like, is that those courses that register with us that have this CPD component, as Anna is explaining, they do incredibly well, because don't forget, you are not simply going out to a cold public who may or may not want to learn massage, or they may or may not want to learn homeopathy or nutrition or whatever it is that you're bringing. You're actually, with CPD courses, going out to a warm audience who are already practitioners, and they are looking to bolt on more sort of expertise. Now, of course, you may be going to a group who are fresh into the profession, and they are looking at taking it to that higher level and very serious about it, and want to do something that's going to give them some CPD points because they'll be joining the CMA, for example, and so on. But actually, we see CPD courses as really super successful courses. So I think that's really important that you've mentioned that. Thank you. Something else came up, so I've just popped it in the chat box there. For those of you who aren't yet insured with Westminster, I wanted to just give you their contact details, because as you know, we love Baylands. We won't ever word said against Baylands, but if we are looking at more lockdowns, Baylands were not able to cover people when they were working during lockdown. It's not Baylands' fault at all, it's their underwriters. But what I just wanted to flag up is that Westminster Global can cover you for working remotely. And then that brought me on to the question for you, Anna, about whether, I know that you do love to speak to teach face-to-face, but what if we are looking at another lockdown? I presume that you are more than able to teach online. It's not your preferred choice, but how are you feeling about all of that?
Oh, I'm so glad that you asked that question, because before coronavirus and lockdowns, I had no idea that I could teach remotely. I had no idea. I don't think I'd ever been on Zoom. I think I'd recorded my videos and upload them to YouTube. That's what I had done. So I knew that I could be in front of a camera. Then there was the Zoom, and then somebody asked me, can you teach this? And I was like, I can teach aromatherapy, or I could teach anatomy and physiology. And then I was being asked, can you teach this? Can you teach that? And more practically. And I was like, well, I could give it a go. So I started to experiment and expand, teaching some of the, like, warm bamboo, for example. And so I would do the theory, and we'd have the theory. And then, like I said, my 16-year-old encouraged me to set up multiple cameras in the room. And then they would be on Zoom. And so there would be like 3 different cameras on Zoom of different angles. And I would demonstrate and talk and record it. And then that's the other thing, the recording of the Zoom was amazing. And then, so once I'd done my demonstration, I would then set that all aside, and then sit and ask the therapists to set up their cameras so that I could watch them and coach them and observe them, so that I could see what they were doing. And I was like, literally up close going, a little more lateral, move up a little bit. And so I was able to teach everything. I mean, some of the more intricate modalities, I said, look, I'll teach you the theory now, and then when we're allowed to meet in the classroom, we'll meet in the classroom. But to practitioners who I felt were experienced and who were able to cope with the remote learning, it was fantastic. And what happened as a result of this, and this is really awesome, is that I have a huge following overseas. And so Ireland, I just I've become Madame Northern Ireland, and the Bahamas, and Hawaii, and Canada, and the States, and people in the very north of England who can never get down to Bournemouth, even if we weren't ever in lockdown. So it's allowed me to teach and reach out far and wide, which has been super exciting. And then I send them the video afterwards as a sort of resource, as a backup resource, and to reinforce everything. So the answer is absolutely yes. It's very exciting.
Yes, it's very interesting actually, because we've done a few interviews with teachers. Rebecca Lockwood is one that stands out from before Christmas, just gone. Ali Campbell, of course, he's also famous. Ali Campbell, household name, hypnotherapy dude. Yes. Such a lovely guy. He's one of my favorite people on the face of the planet. Yes. We've also got oh gosh, Wisdom, was it Joy Wisdom? We've got a number of teachers that I've had the privilege of interviewing, and it's been very, very interesting because obviously they're all saying that during lockdown, at first they all thought, as did we, and I'm sure you all did listening, oh my God, what are we going to do? This is a disaster, darling. Anyway, then obviously after panicking for 24 hours, we went, okay, fine, this is what we're going to do. And we sorted it all out and, got online and started teaching and blah, 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 as did you. And, we all found a way, didn't we, of doing it. And I think it is something that has been a blessing and a curse, obviously, because there is this, if there is a silver lining to be had within the whole horrific situation, the silver lining is that it has enabled us to expand our global reach, hasn't it? Mm-hmm. And to be able to help so many more people that we would never ordinarily have ever come across, and we've had to adapt and find ways of doing. This is something that you've done so brilliantly. So I was so thrilled to hear that you've got people in, I think you said Hawaii, and did you say the Bahamas?
Bahamas, yes.
I think, I tell you what, I really do think that we're going to need some fact-finding missions going on to these. Make sure they're all, make sure their standards are up to scratch. Everyone allowed to fly again properly, that is. But it sounds fantastic. By the way, there's something else. Whilst I know you're probably thinking of more questions and things like that, so while you do, I've just been putting some bits and pieces in the notes, because there's something, I've got a couple of announcements for you. For those of you who were with me last week, I'll just drop this in now, not wanting to cut across you, Anna, but if I don't do it now, I might forget. So just to let everybody know, we're almost at the top of the hour anyway, would you believe? I sent out today, please check your inboxes, and if it's not in your main inbox, Anna and I were just speaking about this earlier, it might be in the promotions tab, or it might be, if you're on Gmail, or it might be in your other tab if you're on Outlook, and that is your secret link to the secret CMA page, which is where we've got your template, your CMA business templates, the ones that I spoke about last week that are all completely editable and brandable and so on. So we've created the beautiful templates for you. Everybody's thrilled with them. So the raw materials are all there for you to take and just play with to your heart's content. And I also made a really nice video on exactly how to use them. So again, that's also from that email that I sent you earlier on today. The only caveat to that is, they are for CMA members only, obviously, so don't share them if it's somebody that isn't a CMA member. It is a membership benefit, okay? So it's yours and yours only. So there's that. And then the other thing is, I'm sure that you know that we have many different membership categories: practitioners, students, fellows, colleges, training schools, and of course retreats and so on. But we also have CMA approved suppliers. These are companies that are literally going above and beyond in the field, and they are making a massive definable difference to the field, driving it forward and just really taking it all to another level. We've got a lovely couple of ladies who run a company called Hynek Associates, and I've got their details. Let me give you those details right now so that I know that I've done that. So you've got their contact details. Nicole and Keely. Keely is a practitioner. She's a fellow practitioner. Nicole is doing her doctorate if I'm not mistaken, it's something along the lines of, it's like a sort of a communications thing, but working with people who are on the autistic spectrum. So it's very, 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 very brilliant, very clever ladies. And what they're doing is they are creating a digital marketing incubator where they'll be sharing helpful tips and info in that Facebook group that I've put there for you. That's actually opening today. I think I was their first member in there. They are essentially a marketing agency. So they will do everything from social marketing to building websites. I've seen some of the sites they've built. They are absolutely superb. The ladies are lovely. They're very friendly. They're not sort of geeky type people who are on a different planet. So I would say, please do check them out. And I'm just going to check my notes here. Jane says, I haven't had that email, Jane. It's not in any folder. don't worry, it'll be lurking around. I will send you a copy after this in that case. Jane, I'll tell you what, would you like to just email me, send me a direct message with your correct email, because it may be that we've somehow maybe got an incorrect email for you. So that's the only reason it wouldn't be, and I presume you've checked your spam. Yeah, okay. Jane, please send me your email address and I'll send you the link privately. And we will always find, there will always be weird issues with emails, as we know in this day and age. So it is what it is, but at least you're here in the group and I'll be able to actually send it to you, so that's fine. So any further questions at all for Anna? Well, I've been wittering on and telling you all the news of the day. Any further questions about teaching at all? Jane, yes.
Hi, Anna. Hi, I'm actually a qualified teacher, PGCE.
Yeah.
And have taught all through the sectors, primary, secondary, further education, and so on.
Yeah.
And this is where I am in teaching. I think you're always a teacher, no matter what you teach, aren't you? You just are. It's like a vocation. So I've had courses and 6-month courses, professional courses going for a long time. I'm just starting to formalise them into becoming a school and looking at doing the CPD element first. Now, I didn't even know the CMA potentially was something for the CPD. I thought it was more to do with I'm massively overthinking it because I'm a PGCE, because I'm a teacher and have been for sort of nearly 30 years. I'm overthinking everything. And I'm really glad to have had that sort of, step-by-step thing of seeing that actually sometimes you just got to stop being perfectionist and just sort of go. And actually the CMA is there to advise. So how, when it comes to things like you were talking about being able to look over people's things before sending them off from that score, that's something that you do, is it? You can.
Well, that would be part of, a mentoring program.
Mentoring thing,
if you wanted a mentoring session and you wanted me to have a look or talk, you don't have to show me your whole manual, but you can talk me through it and we can talk and you can tell me what you want to do and I can hear and listen to you and just basically, give you guidance and support and pointers. And what are you looking to teach?
Well, I'm a nutritionist, clinical and nutritional therapist, but also a healthy chef. So I teach cookery. I've got an online cookery school. I'm having a physical cookery school built, and I teach nutrition, which I think is really important for people, other wellness professionals who are not qualified in nutrition. To bring it into what you do is holistic. We all need to be eating well. It's our raw material. So I'm trying to really get that, but also for the public as well. But that element and really making, it's like culinary medicine, isn't it, too? But then how far do you go? You're not training people to be nutritionists. So there's only so far you get with the old clinical side of things. And that's where I think I'm overthinking it really, is how much clinical information to put in, like talk about anatomy, physiology, what vitamins are, what they do, what they, all that kind of stuff. But I'm overthinking it a huge amount, I think, because I'm not training nutritionists really.
No, I mean, so you could do a CPD in diet and nutrition. It's just so you clearly state that you are not a nutrition advisor. You cannot prescribe, you cannot diagnose, you cannot, and that would be your sort of entry bit of information so that people are very clear about that. However, your marketing is, would you like to integrate diet and nutrition into your aftercare and into your knowledge so that you can give some recommendations of aspects of diet and nutrition that would benefit people in their practices? And I think it's a hugely important addition. And that's not to say that we're going to be recommending supplements and herbs, but it's things like you might want to think about looking at a vegan diet or or eliminating dairy. If people are coming, if you've got your clients coming and they're very bloated and they've got a lot of mucus, it's like, maybe you should try and eliminate a bit of dairy and look at that. And then if you feel that they are presenting, if you know when you signpost, so that if someone's coming, like we know when to signpost to chiropractors, acupuncturists and physios. Same, so that if somebody comes in the red flag, it's a red flag situation, that when to signpost on. But what you're delivering is a general knowledge integration into holistic, because when you talk about holistics, we're talking about diet nutrition.
Oh yeah, and this is the problem, isn't it?
Very much so.
You reacted to kinesiologists. Oh well, you're reacting to that. We'll cut it out. Well, no, because unless you replace it with the correct nutrients, which only a nutritionist can really say,
yeah,
you're going to be causing another problem. And this is where I think every professional should be armed with some form of professional sort of nutrition that they can add, like strap onto their practice. And I've actually developed and taught a course to other health professionals in person.
Yeah.
I've done that already and sort of got all that, and I just didn't really, I keep thinking that's that level, let's do this first, but actually I've got all that, and I've been doing it 6-month courses for a long time.
So as a CPD, you're very clear. For example, I teach vets and animal professionals canine acupressure. And I clearly state this does not certify you as a canine acupressure practitioner. It just allows you to integrate some meridians and key points into your existing practice.
Yeah.
If you want to go on to do full training, I signpost them where they can go and do that. So, you could say this is nutrition that you can integrate into your existing practice. If you want to become a full blown dietitian and then you would need to do a 3-year degree in that, and this you would maybe signpost them to the Optimum Health or to the College of Naturopathic or your own course, that you could develop your own fabulous course.
Yes, well, this is the thing, isn't it? It's about just giving people that, it's always about empowering, isn't it? Arming people with knowledge. It's just the best thing. It's a great feeling, isn't it, when people go, oh, this is great. And how many more people could be for all of us? But yeah, I mean, lots of people they'll refer, so you should see a nutritionist, and they don't go. So if they can then do that, it means they're getting that knowledge. And I think it's important, as you say, that you're always there with CPD for anyone that you teach, and you have the master classes and you keep people going and all the knowledge, and you're always there for some guidance, because when you're taking on something new, it can be quite scary, and there's a lot to learn. All of our professional expertise, there's always a lot to learn, isn't there?
Absolutely. I would agree with you, ladies. And actually, you're reminding me, one of the things that we're seeing, particularly thinking about CPD there, and you just reminded me something I do actually need to make a mention of. And I know some of you in the group have actually already done this. But as we know, we're all facing this massive mental health crisis at the moment, and we practitioners are really well poised to be and well positioned to be able to be of massive support to people, especially again if we're looking at another series of lockdowns or greater restrictions, because I just think people have really pretty much had as much as they can take right now. And so on the 30th of October, I'm doing my final resilience and positive psychology course. The strapline to it is creating health through happiness. So please do join me in that if it's something that would be of interest to you. I will put the link in the notes, but what you're talking about CPD. This is why we practitioners we need to constantly keep upskilling our offering, and I think that's something that CPD does so brilliantly. And also, let's face it, it gives us another therapeutic string to our bow in many cases. So I think it's really vital that we keep doing this. But anyway, sorry to interrupt you. I'll grab the link for that, because it's something that it has been very well received, and I just wanted to make mention of it. And I don't like to sort of promote things, it's a funny thing, but this, I think, it sort of suddenly struck me. I thought, actually I probably should, because it's such an important topic. So sorry for interrupting, but please do carry on. I'll grab that link.
Oh, it's great to gather as much information and sharing as we can.
Yeah, particularly because mental health nutrition is a specialist area I've been working on for 15 years. And the NHS have commissioned me to work to do the food handbook for their specialist chronic fatigue clinics. Well, all that's very similar to long COVID. So I've been asked to lecture at the medical school. All these kind of things have happened over 25 years doing this, where it's now becoming really, and you kind of forget all this stuff and think, this is kind of everything that we do between us, all these foundational layers. We just make this great if we could all be CPDing each other and upskilling each other, it would just be amazing, wouldn't it? It'd be really good.
And the difference between the CPD, I think, you know, what you were saying, Jayney, as well, is I think that it just has a bit of weight behind it, because we can all read loads of information online. We all do. There's loads of information. But I think, you know, what you're saying, Jane, is that you know, with what you could offer, it just has a bit of weight behind it. So that if I do your nutrition course and it's got a CPD, I can share that with my say with my guests, my clients rather, if I was a practitioner, so that they, you know, get that they sort of get for themselves that I'm knowledgeable to a recognized level that's been approved by the CMA. And all of that has a lot of weight behind it to just, again, elevate and up level you in your practice, in your business. So people want these CPD rather than reading, you know, there's so much on social media, Instagram, YouTube, that we can find out already about healthy living and, you know, having a good plant-based diet. But when you've got a bit of a weighted certificate or CPD behind you integrated into your practice, I think that's where you begin to sort of evolve and elevate as a practitioner and as a, you know, as a business, if you like, that you have those not labels, but what's the word I'm looking for?
Really, isn't it? It's and it is. If a course hasn't got any kind of recognized stamp, if it has, it suddenly becomes, people want that, and whether you're insured for it or not. And obviously at that point I wouldn't be training people to be insured as nutritionists, and I've always said that on all my trainings as well, professional or public. But yes, it's that level of authority, and actually where your expertise makes a difference, because there's a lot of very, very bad nutrition advice out there, a lot of it, and you're sitting there going, oh no.
It's quality assurance. I think that's the word that I've just got there, is quality assurance. And when people recognize that you are assured and recognized, and it's fantastic.
Yeah, absolutely, I couldn't agree more. And the thing is that talking about quality assurance, you know, the CMA logo is very much a, you know, it's almost like the good housekeeping seal of approval. You know, it does carry weight, and I think it's really, really important. Anybody who's not actually really taking advantage of that, you know, the logo is our registered trademark. It's recognised globally, and you know, if it's not on your website or your business, well, I hope it is on your business card.
It very much is
now, and
very much
letterhead and things like that. You've got to slap it all over the place. Whilst you're still, you know, while you're a CMA member, you must take advantage of it. You know, you're paying your fees. Goodness knows, you know, you really should use the assets that we're giving you. So you know, please do make use of that, because these things, they do stand for something. Why do you think people spend so much money on getting things like the Leaping Bunnies certification, the Soil Association certification, and so on? All of these things, people do make judgments, and if you're going to be we're talking about teaching today. The fact is that we take call after call. I have been on the phone speaking to prospective students of CMA training schools today, where people have been phoning in and asking questions. We are so busy that the calls are spilling over to me. I've been speaking all day to prospective students saying, is this school CMA registered? Or I see this school has the CMA logo on its site. Is that genuine? And I said, well, yeah, have you done a search on the CMA website? I'm trying to make the call go a bit faster. But generally, I'm only too happy to say, yes, of course they are, but, you know, and then tell them a bit about the course. So that's another thing, actually, anybody who's looking at, putting together courses, remember also that when we assess your courses, we need to make sure that we understand not just what you're offering, but the essence of what you're offering. Because generally there are people who are contacting us saying, hi, I'm a prospective student, I'm looking at this course, what do you know about it? Or, hi, I'm a prospective student, I'm looking at doing a course in nutrition or sound therapy or homeopathy or whatever it is. what would you recommend? And obviously we're not going to say, if we've got several schools all offering the same thing, we're not going to say, well, you must go to this one and this one only, but we will say, well, there's this, this is a bit like this, and this is this, and this is this, and so on. And so we can give a flavor and help this person, with actually ascertaining what they are, what direction they're going in. But the other thing that we do say to people is phone the school up, speak to the people, make sure it's an energetic fit before you part with any of your money or your time, just as we would ourselves. If we were going and doing a training, we would actually want to make sure that we liked the person that we were training with before we spend our time and money, working with that person. So please, as trainers yourselves, make sure that you are contactable, and ideally that you are contactable by phone. That's really, really important. You will definitely build your business that way. And have as much video up as you possibly can, whether it's on YouTube or your website or wherever it is, so that people can get to know you, they can see you, they can decide if they like the cut of your jib. That sort of thing is really, really crucially important. I don't know if you would agree with that, Anna. Is that something that you've noticed?
Absolutely, 100%. I mean, that's again what I was talking about, the sound current, is that people have to vibe with you. And I get people ring me up and go, I looked at so many courses and I kept coming back to you because I could see you. I like the way you talk. I like the way you express yourself. I like, and they would comment because they'd already seen me. And then a lot of schools are faceless. In fact, they have no images at all. They're stock images. But I seem to attract, particular guests, clients and students and therapists, because with all my businesses, because I make sure I'm really transparent and vocal. Absolutely.
Yeah, brilliant. Okay. I don't want to keep everybody too long. What a vibrant session. That's been absolutely fabulous. But is there anything before we finish today? Is there anything that anybody else would like to ask? Well, we've got Anna in our captive group here before she runs away and does more teaching and changes the world. Is there any other questions? Are there any other questions at all? Whilst you're thinking, Jane, I just want to say to you, I've just forwarded you my test email, the one that came through to me as a test. So it hasn't got your name, it just says Dear Comma, but please forgive that, but it doesn't matter. You'll see the loop, the link, and you'll see the video link as well. Okay, so that's your secret email. If anybody else hasn't received their email, of course, just drop me a quick email and I'll get the team to send that out to you. Jane, I've also got your message as well regarding mental health and nutrition. Yeah, we'll have a chat about that for sure. Yes, when you've got some time, possibly, maybe not so much next week, because we're onboarding an entire new admin team here at the CMA. So you can only imagine, can't you, the amount of work that is going to take. I am literally up to my eyeballs. But Jane, the week after next, I would definitely have time to have a chat with you if you would like to. So that's great. Anything from anybody else whilst we're here chatting?
I'd just like to say thank you to both of you. That has really lit a fire under my butt, because I wanted this for about 5 years, and that has actually really pushed me forward a lot. So thank you both very much.
Amazing. Oh, you're very welcome. Very well. It's very scary, isn't it? It's really scary putting yourself out like this, and it's your precious, you're very, let's not forget that we are emotionally connected to our expertise and what we teach. It's a really, really, it's a very vulnerable feeling. And I don't know if you've found that, putting yourself, making yourself vulnerable in that way by, if you think back to that first course, it took you a long time, and I wonder how much of that was procrastination driven by, oh, this is very exposing. Did you feel any of that?
I did. I was like, I hope it's going to be okay. Is it going to be okay? And then, like I said, I think I sort of over-taught when I first started. I probably talked too much, over-taught it. And then, and I was exhausted at the end of it from putting so much effort in. It was, and that's what I'm saying about evaluation, is that I actually, just streamlined and really learned how to teach from teaching, learning what, just really homing it and making it just to get to that sweet spot where I didn't feel that I was having to sort of deliver so much. And you always hope that I still hope that it's received well, and I still feel, that sometimes, I still get nervous. I get nervous all the time, but once I start talking, I remember that I'm talking about what I love, and I remember that I talk about what I know, and all of a sudden I sort of calm down a little bit. So a little bit of nerves is normal. I think, whenever you're in front of people, being, the main focus, it's a little bit nerve-wracking, but I just remember and connect to, I know what I'm talking about. I love what I talk about. And there's still, even after all these years, and all my acupuncture training and everything, even when I'm still teaching, there may be times that somebody asks a question that I don't know the answer to. And I go, oh my God, I absolutely have no idea. I have no idea. Let's look it up. And I'm like, hey Siri, what about that? And I love it. And I say, thank you so much for asking that question. I have no idea. And then some people tell me things like they're like proper little scientist stuff. And I'm just so grateful to be in a position in front of people to teach and learn and teach and learn. And it's a wonderful space to be slightly vulnerable, humble, but know your stuff. And that's, I think I've said that a couple of times, is if you know your stuff, you're not blagging it. I think if you blag it, then, it's a bit stressful when you're blagging it. But if you know your stuff, you're just sharing from your heart. And then it's about just structuring your teachings, structuring and homing, so you're not waffling. And you're not giving too much, you're not sort of over delivering where people are just like, oh my God, it's finding that sweet spot of delivery, that it's inspiring, and you're giving people that moment, that like you just said, Jane, is that moment where, I can do this, I've got this, where if I was bombard you and load you with it about teaching, you'd be thinking like, there's no way I can teach. No. So it's not about that. It's not about saturating people with like, look at me, do you know who I am? It's not about that. It's about inspiring people to believe that they can do this for themselves. And that's the way I teach.
That is the perfect note to end this on. Thank you. That's so inspiring. Absolutely beautiful. Anna, you are amazing. Everybody, thank you so much for being here. It's been really thrilling, actually.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Pleasure, absolute pleasure. And everybody, thank you so much for being here today. You're all absolutely
thank you, Emma. Thank you, Jayney.
Take care. Thank you.